Hi there, and welcome to Insomnia Insight number 410. This is for you if you have felt that sleep just isn't refreshing or restorative. And, we'll talk about why this happened and what you can think about to feel more refreshed and rejuvenated and, be more happy and enjoy life more. But before we do, quick announcement. If you have been thinking about becoming a sleep coach, if you had trouble sleeping and you're doing better and you're really in a unique position to help others, well, in that case, head over to our website and click the link in the top, Want to Become a Sleep Coach, and you'll see a couple of videos I made. And you can, if you think it's for you, you can schedule a call with me and we'll take it from there. So we have 4 slots every 3 months. There are 4 openings and 2 are taken, but 2 are available. So let me know if you're interested. All right, with that said, let's jump in here. And so what is unrefreshing sleep? If you type that into like a document, it will say it's that word doesn't exist, but I think it's so helpful. I use that word all the time. So unrefreshing sleep to me means if you're just not feeling rested, restored, refreshed, either kind of like just when you wake up or later throughout the day or throughout the whole day. That to me is unrefreshing sleep. And I made a note, and not to forget this, I think there are 2 episodes that could help a lot, actually. It's Talking Insomnia 58 with Batul and Talking Insomnia 59 with Sarah, who particularly Batul had a lot of this like unrefreshing sleep, and Sarah also had that, and she didn't think that this was insomnia. So I think for anyone that has unrefreshing sleep, those episodes could be really helpful in addition to this one, of course. Now, so let's start with this one. So where does unrefreshing sleep come from? The way I think about it, and by the way here, nothing medical advice, just me sharing my general thoughts here. The way I think about it is it could be sleep disruption or insomnia. Both these entities can create this sense of like, I'm just not refreshed. So I think the first thing to do is understand like what is the difference between these two and why do they cause unrefreshing sleep. So sleep disruption is something that happens because of circumstances. Sleep disruption is you have choppy, poor sleep for reasons that are circumstantial, that you don't have any real direct control over, at least not at this time point. Insomnia, though, it comes from how we think. It is really a form of fear. So the unrefreshing sleep when it comes to insomnia comes from that fear, and we'll go over that in detail. But let's stay here more. So let's spend some more time here on sleep disruption versus insomnia. I think that's very important. So some examples of sleep disruption are snoring. You're snoring, or you have a partner that snores a lot. Noise can disrupt your sleep, of course. Sleep apnea can disrupt your sleep. You're pregnant, hormonal changes, you're peeing all the time, you have a big belly, you're not comfortable, that can disrupt your sleep. Of course, pain, alcohol, and many, like the list goes on. But as you can imagine, there's so many circumstances that can somehow disrupt your sleep, and therefore you don't feel refreshed upon awakening. Now, all these circumstances, which we often get questions about, snoring, pregnancy, etc., they actually cannot cause insomnia. They don't cause insomnia. How you think about them can. If you're really worried that your pain is not gonna allow you to sleep, then how you think about pain, for example, can cause insomnia, but the pain itself can only cause sleep disruption. And and why is this good to know about? Because when it comes to sleep disruption, that is limited to like what is expected to happen. If you have some pain, let's say you hurt your ribs, then of course you're gonna have some sleep disruption, but it's limited. And once your rib is healed, there will be no more struggle. Insomnia is ongoing because it's kind of fed by the fear of not sleeping. So now we've talked about these differences. A natural question becomes like, okay, my unrefreshing sleep, where does it come from? And again, nothing is medical advice, but here's just my general thoughts on this one. So if your unrefreshing sleep comes from sleep disruption from a circumstance, then typically there is no question about that, really. It's quite obvious. There's no wondering, pondering, and it's more like, yeah, I hurt my ribs. Of course I'm not going to sleep great. Of course I'm not going to be refreshed. Or someone who's pregnant, let's say, yeah, I don't sleep quite well. Of course I'm not going to sleep great. I have a huge belly. Of course I'm not going to be really that refreshed. it's kind of obvious. Sleep disruption typically is quite obvious versus insomnia, which is very different. With insomnia, you have this kind of fear, you have this wandering, pondering, could it be this, could it be that? You're trying this, you're trying that. And so to conclude this first part where we talk about sleep disruption versus insomnia, I just want to say that if you find that, I am really wandering, pondering, trying, I can't figure it out, and I'm not refreshed when I wake up, then this video is for you, okay? So if that was you, you found the right one. So the first question for us becomes, and we already touched upon this, but this is a great place to start, is why do we feel unrefreshed when we have trouble sleeping? And if we summarize that in one word, it is hyperarousal. It's the same, like it's the root cause of the insomnia itself. It's when we are in the state of some fear, hyperarousal, we're hypervigilant. We're kind of like, we're always like, the brain it thinks that there's something that is out there to scare, to hurt us, or potentially harm us. It is in a state where it doesn't really allow us to sleep well, and therefore feel refreshed. And that hyperarousal continues often throughout the day, throughout the night, and you can almost sense just by what I said that this isn't conducive to feeling like light and refreshed and at ease, right? So the unrefreshing sleep comes from hyperarousal. So let's say you see this. Let's say, okay, I get it. I'm wondering, pondering a lot. I think I have insomnia, and I'm also not refreshed. So what should I do? So I listed four things actually that are helpful to see, and then we'll see why they're helpful to see. So what to do here? Well, number one is see that how many hours you slept isn't actually what determines how refreshed you feel. And I started with this one because I think it is such an important one. Because there's so often an idea that I don't feel refreshed because I slept 5 hours. If I had slept 7 hours, I would have felt refreshed, but I slept little, and therefore I don't feel refreshed. Oftentimes, you can just, by looking at examples from the past, you can see that this isn't necessarily true. You can often think about one time, and it doesn't matter if it was just like this one single time in your whole entire life, where let's say you had such a great time with friends that you were out all night, you literally didn't sleep a wink, and the following day, yeah, you were a bit tired, but you felt kind of good. That's one example that illustrates that it's not how many hours you slept that determines really how refreshed you are. Of course, sleeping little is a circumstance that has some impact, but it's not like the big one. And on the flip side, you can think of time where maybe something happened in your life, you're sort of sad, maybe you're a little depressed, and you slept a lot. Maybe you slept like 9 hours, but you didn't feel refreshed. You just didn't feel, you kept feeling like tired and dragging, right? Even if you slept a lot. So, and another way, I'll give you one more example, which is, this is from Martin Reed, Insomnia coach. He uses this example of the lottery often, where you imagine that you haven't slept much at all for a couple of nights, you feel tired, etc. But then one day you learn that you won the lottery. You won like $2 million. And in that second, you suddenly feel refreshed. You feel light. You feel great. You feel so full of energy. And it just illustrates that how many hours we slept isn't the big determinant of how we feel in terms of how refreshed you are. And we'll see why this is helpful to see in a second. Now, number two, very similar one, but still important to go over, I think, is to see that how much percentage or minutes of REM sleep or deep sleep you have is also not what determines how refreshed you feel. And in this time where a lot of people use trackers that supposedly tell you like how much REM sleep and deep sleep and state you have, I see so many people get caught in this loop of like trying to have more REM sleep or more deep sleep so they feel more refreshed, and we don't have control over those things. So it just leads to more frustration, and the numbers aren't going up, and you're in this loop of this fear of not sleeping, which makes you not feel refreshed. And similarly, like to what we use in the other example, you can see really just by thinking about it that you probably felt refreshed many times in your life without having much REM sleep or deep sleep or whatnot. It's not what determines how refreshed we feel. Number three, very big one too. When you see that you can be kind to yourself no matter what the night was like, then things really change. And the reason I think this is so important is that so often, people tell me that they don't feel refreshed and they're like, why can't I get this right? What's wrong with me? And don't really recognize these type of questions, these type of questions, sorry, as this form of self-criticism, as looking at yourself as like, there's something wrong with me, I can't get it right, why am I still feeling this way? And when you see that, I don't need to criticize myself for this, for how I feel. Nobody has control over that. Things get much easier, as we'll also see exactly why in a second. But this is number 3 here, very important one. And number 4, see that we can do things that are meaningful to us, even if we don't feel refreshed. So often, people tell me that they avoided this, they couldn't do this because they felt so tired. And sometimes that's totally fine, of course, that's an act of self-kindness, but often we can be more and more limited because we just feel, I'm not refreshed enough to do this, and then we spend more time thinking about how we're not refreshed, and we do things, and we try, and we create more hyperarousal, and we feel more unrefreshed, etc. So these 4 things are super helpful to see, and now we're going to look at when you see these things, when you see these 4 things, what happens then, all right? So what happens when you see this? So number 1, when you see that how refreshed you are is not determined in any large degree, in any significant extent, by exactly how many hours you slept, then you aren't pressured anymore. So when we aren't pressured to sleep a certain amount, there's no performance anxiety, and that hyperarousal, that fear of not sleeping enough, trying to get more, like that hyperarousal that comes from that place, it fades, and we feel more refreshed. We feel more refreshed when we aren't pressured to get a certain amount, Super, super helpful. Number 2, similar. When we aren't pressured to have this amount of REM sleep, this amount of dream sleep, then again, the performance anxiety is no longer there, hyperarousal fades, and we feel more refreshed, all right? Number 3, when we aren't being hard on ourselves for not feeling refreshed, or for any other emotion, by the way, or any other feeling, we just automatically feel brighter and more refreshed. I can't stress this one enough. There's so often that self-criticism is the reason we feel heavy. We feel beat down, we feel heavy, we feel tired. And when that self-criticism is gone and we're kind and gentle to ourselves, we feel more refreshed. And finally, when we see that we can do things that are meaningful to us, even if we feel tired, then we see that there's really nothing standing in our way of living the life we want to live. And that really makes us feel light and free. And just the other week, last week, I had a client who told me he was feeling tired. He decided to clean his refrigerator, which he had been putting off for a while. And he started cleaning it, and he was like, I felt so energized. And to me, it was just so clear that when he saw that, it was so interesting to me, because it's not, cleaning a refrigerator is nothing we find exciting. But when you see that you can do something, even if you're tired, even if you didn't sleep that well, then again, you just feel free. Nothing is standing in your way. I hope this episode was helpful to you. Let me know in the comment section what you thought, and look back to having you back real soon. Until then, take it easy. Bye now.